Hey everybody, welcome to Open by Accident. I'm Matt,
And I'm Nick.
and today we're going to be looking at some light gun games for the PlayStation 2. So Nick and I are pretty passionate about light gun games. In this video, we're going to focus heavily on the Guncon series of games on the PlayStation and the PlayStation 2.
We recently had a couple of episodes of our podcast, which you can find on Spotify, where we talked about light gun gaming, but it was not a video format. So now we're going to go into a more in-depth demonstration on playing the games.
Right. So to get started, why don't we do an unboxing of what's in a starter pack? All right, let's take a look and see what comes with a starter pack. These are what you typically see on the store shelves. This includes a game as well as a Guncon 2 controller for the PlayStation 2. These were also offered as just a Guncon controller by itself, or in some cases a game with two Guncon controllers. So let's dive in and take a look inside the box. All right, so let's take a look inside the box. We're going to look at Time Crisis Crisis Zone. So inside the box, you're immediately going to find the game itself. Now this is going to be your standard game case with booklet and game disc like you'd find on any other PlayStation 2 game. Looking at the box in more detail, you can see how there's nice instructions sheet right printed on the box on how to hook up your Guncon 2 controller. Under the flap, you should find your Guncon controller 2, as well as the external cable. So here we have the Guncon 2 controller that was packaged with our Time Crisis bundle. This is the North American version. You can tell because it's orange in color. This Guncon controller features a start and select button, A, B, C button, as well as your trigger. On the connector cables, you have a USB cable to plug into the system, as well as your typical AV plug-in to go into the TV. This is an upgrade over the original Guncon controller for the original PlayStation. Why don't we take a look at that now? Here we have the original Guncon. This works with the PlayStation 1 as well as the PlayStation 2. It only features an A and a B button as well as the trigger. It connects using a more traditional controller input as well as that AV standard input for the TV. Let's look at one more accessory before we start hooking this up. Here we have the Sony PlayStation AV multi-out accessory. This is available separately from the Guncon controllers. This uses the PlayStation connector cable as well as the input for the PlayStation connector cable as a pass-through. You could also use this with an S-video cable directly from your TV to this for your video signal, or those red, white, and yellow AV connectors. This is where you would connect your Guncon controller AV connector as opposed to putting it directly into the TV. So let's take a look and see how this all works and put it into action.
Hooking up the Guncon controllers is a pretty simple process. Using the included external cable, this allows you to hook it up using AV cables. You'll first plug in the external cable, piggyback the video off that, hooking up your audio just like normal. Then what we'll do is we'll move on to the other end of that external cable, hooking up the Guncon video cables directly to that. You can do up to 2. Next, we'll hook in the controllers. We're using the Guncon 1s. The only thing you change using Guncon 2s is using the USB. Using the multi-out, this allows you to use component or S-video, and also gives you a little extra cable length when hooking up those controllers as opposed to doing the AV out. This hooks directly into the back of the PlayStation systems.
So now that we've spent all this time hooking up the thing, can we play some games?
I guess so. So first up, we played Time Crisis 2 on the PlayStation 2 using the Guncon 2 controller. Now we just did this in split screen mode, but if you were to have 2 PlayStation 2s, 2 copies of the game, 2 TVs, 2 Guncon controllers, you can actually do this with System Link.
And that'd be the more ideal experience, because if you never played Time Crisis 2, you're more of covering each other and facing different directions. So having 2 different screens would make it that much better of an experience.
Right. It mimics more of like the arcade experience.
Right. But just like the arcade, you don't have the pedal system for reloading and going back to cover. You have the D-pad on the back of the Joy-Con. But it worked fine. So good experience there.
So while we played the story mode and split screen, there are other game modes. Like you can play the levels individually, or there's mini games like a shooting gallery.
There's lots of replayability with this one, and it's a very good port of the arcade version. So I think it's a must-have for anybody that's getting into the Guncon games for PlayStation 2.
Using the Guncon 2 controllers, we actually use that AV multi-out. That way we could take advantage of using the component cables. That's an absolute must, that accessory, if you want to use anything other than that traditional AV connector. Time Crisis 2 is a must-buy to get you started. Not only can you use a Guncon 1 controller, you can use a Guncon 2 controller.
It's also very affordable. A complete copy goes for around $20, so getting started, not that expensive.
So recently, I was on a road trip to go visit some friends in Indiana. Nick typically makes the trip with me, but couldn't this particular time.
Unfortunately not.
On the way, we usually stop in Terre Haute, Indiana for a disc replay location that we really like. We always seem to find good stuff there at pretty decent prices, and this trip was no exception. I happened to find a game compatible with the original Guncons, and that is Gunfighter, The Legend of Jesse James.
Really?
So this is just a single-player Guncon game, but I think we'll find out that it plays a lot like Time Crisis, just in the Wild West.
Ooh.
So I'm pretty
like
excited.
that.
So I was hoping that Nick would share the same enthusiasm about this. So let's dive right in and check out Gunfighter, The Legend of Jesse James. So Gunfighter, The Legend of Jesse James on the original PlayStation using an original Guncon. I actually didn't play this one. A friend of the show, Jeff, came by and he played it with you. You guys kind of rotated, alternating back and forth because it's just a single player game.
It is.
So I'm going to turn it over to you and Jeff, and you guys tell us what you thought about Gunfighter.
So we're back, and we have Jeff. So we played Gunfighter. What was your first thoughts on it?
It was good. I like the cowboyish type gameplay, kind of maybe like a Clint Eastwood type movie, going in and doing a gunslinger type thing. So it's kind of cool that you can play as this one person, but it would be better if it had 2-player play on it.
I agree. Especially the game he has a partner, Cole Younger, with him. I mean, in the story mode, you're trying to rescue him and stuff, but you thought that it would be a 2-player with 2 people, but unfortunately it wasn't. The quotes were hilarious. It reminded me of Tombstone quotes. So that was a lot of fun. There's a lot of unlockables as well. As you play through the storyline, you'll actually unlock bonus modes, as well as you can go back and replay the levels you've already played.
So you have an arcade mode you can actually go through after you complete the story. You unlock the story as you go through. So you can go back and play a level that you kind of want to maybe brush up on. To
Beat your high score.
Yep. So, but other than that, the graphics look really good for a PlayStation game.
Yeah. A lot of polygons.
Yeah, a lot of polygons.
2001, that's how it goes.
But your typical cover and fire gun game is kind of like what Time Crisis is. You're definitely going to enjoy it. It just would have been better with 2 players.
Agreed. So Matt was able to find this one for $9.99, which I think is a really good deal for a game of this quality. I mean, it has a lot of replayability. I mean, would you play it again, Jeff?
Oh, yes, I would.
So I think it was definitely a good price.
And also, on top of that, we ran this on a PS2, so we used a Guncon 1 from the PS1, and it works perfectly well for what that is. So if you do have one of these, hook it up, and you can go shooting in the Wild West.
Give it up, James. You're gonna swing.
So since we got the system all hooked up, we decided to play another PlayStation game. We decided to go with Point Blank 2. We talked about it on our podcast a little bit, so we thought we'd get a demo out of it.
Right. So this we use as the original Guncons, so since they're already out and ready to go, let's do some Point Blank 2 with you and Jeff.
So I said Mario Party, it's more like WarioWare. 49. All right, so me and Jeff just got done playing Point Blank 2. What a weird game that was.
Yeah.
It plays a lot like WarioWare Inc. with the little mini games and stuff like that. We're playing head-to-head. There's a couple of game modes we played. We played Tournament, and we played Turf War. Tournament, I think I liked a little bit better than Turf War.
Tournament was a lot better than Turf War. Turf War was a little confusing. After we figured out what the rules were for offense and defense, you had to swap guns because you're basically defending your square against the other person, and vice versa.
Right.
So we didn't get it the first couple of times, and they're like, "Oh, okay." Then we can swap guns, and we kind of picked it up. But it's cool for like maybe more than 2 players. Like that would be more to like it says up to 8 players, so maybe 4 would be adequate for that game mode.
But for just 1 or 2 people, then I think the tournament mode is more because it's just head-to-head, doing mini games, and whoever wins wins.
Yeah.
But it was a fun game.
Yeah.
Definitely replayable. The characters are goofy. The quotes that they say also very goofy. So that's fun.
As you progress in the game or start one of the games, you have to pick an avatar. So some of the avatars are just really wild. So
yeah, he was a little chicken, and I was a little horsey.
I was a little dog at the very beginning. Yep. So it's fun. It's a colorful game. It's definitely a party game. So
yeah, definitely a silly game, especially if you have kids or younger people, then they would love this game.
Yep.
So this one we actually picked up from our friend Retro Tony at the Como Retro Game Con. We paid for about $25 to $30 for it. I'd say I'd pay a little less than that if I was going to pick it up for myself.
I feel like it may be a $15 game.
That's fair.
For the rarity and just to get the playability of it as well.
So. But I do think it is a must-have for your collection just for the replayability and all the little mini games, because I'm sure we didn't even come close to seeing all the stuff that's on the game.
There's a lot of options on the menu, so we didn't really hit on everything. We just played a few.
So if you find it for $20 or less, definitely pick it up.
Yeah.
So we do plan to make another video on our Japanese Guncon games, and as a little teaser, I thought I'd show you guys we have Point Blank 1 through 3, the Japanese style, as well as Time Crisis 1. So stay tuned for the next video where we get to play these. So we want to thank Jeff for coming and playing the Guncon games with us. We hope to have you back and maybe for the PlayStation 2 games.
Yeah, thank you and Matt for inviting me over and playing these games. I haven't played them forever, so it was fun.
So we played Gunfighter, The Legend of Jesse James, as well as Point Blank 2.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for more.
Yep.
We're on offense.
Yeah.
Whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
Shoot at least 30 ninjas. Don't shoot whatever that was.
Okay, don't shoot the walking lady or whatever, old man or grandpa or whatever.
Old lady man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh. I'm dead. I lost that one.
You shot too many ladies.
I shot too many ladies. How did I win?
You still won. Because you had better percentage, or better accuracy by 1%. That's some bullshit. Alright, so to recap, we played through a little bit of Point Blank 2, Gunfighter, Legend of Jesse James, as well as Time Crisis 2, and we had fun doing that.
Right. We looked at the hardware. We looked at hooking it up. We took a look at the Guncon 1 and Guncon 2 controllers for the PlayStation family of systems. And I think moving forward, we're going to go ahead and do a follow-up episode where we're going to look at another piece of hardware. We're also going to take a look at some more unique titles you wouldn't necessarily expect to have like gun support for the PlayStation systems. And then maybe after that, since there's so many exclusives to the Japanese market, maybe we'll venture off into the Japan exclusives and look at what was offered over there.
You know we love anything and everything Guncon related. So make sure you subscribe for part 2. Thanks for watching.
Voice test.
1, 2, 3, and then the hair.
I don't think you'll be
Hair, stop.
shaking your hair that much.
I'm just trying to